Before you skip this video saying, I already know what a website is, wait, let me ask you something. If you were to be given a brand new domain name, SSL security, and a server, meaning a web hosting, can you explain to a layman how they all work behind the scenes for you to see a website appear on the internet? Well, many people who think they actually understand how a website works really do miss some very important details. What are those important details? They do not understand how the files on a website, the domain name, the web server, the SSL security come together to form what we see on the web browser. So in this video, I'm going to break down all of these parts, fully explaining to you, even you who think you know what a website is, what happens behind the scene, so you understand how all of this synchronizes together to show us what we see on our web browser when we try to access a website on the internet. To get started, it will be good for us to understand or explain what a website is at first. So if you are asked, what is a website? What would you say? Simply put, a website is a collection of web pages that are hosted on a web server identified by a particular domain name right there on the World Wide Web. Now, in that definition that I've just given of a website, you hear me give four terminologies or mention four terminologies. The very first thing you hear me mention is the World Wide Web. You would also hear me mention the domain name. You hear me mention the web hosting, and you would also hear me mention the web pages. So what are all of these things put together, if I may ask you? Let us start with defining what we call the World Wide Web. Now, the World Wide Web basically is a place where websites, servers, or web servers are stored. Let me explain this properly. Now, imagine the World Wide Web as a planet on its own. Take, for example, if you want to locate humans, you have a planet that is called the Earth. Now, the same thing applies to website files. We have another planet that is called what? The World Wide Web. As we have humans who live on this earth, the same way we have files, web servers that live on that World Wide Web. So for us to identify humans today, we have to come to the earth. Now, for us to identify website files or web servers, we have to locate them where? On the World Wide Web. So simply put, the World Wide Web, or WWW as the acronym will sound, is a location where we have website servers or website files. So if you want to find humans today, you find humans in the earth. It is in that same way that if you want to find website files or web server, you find them where? On the World Wide Web. So I've been able to explain to you in this few short time what the World Wide Web is. Now, the very next thing you would hear me mention in that definition of what the website is what we call the website server, or what some persons will call the web hosting. So simply put, what is the web hosting? Now, to help you understand what the web hosting is, I'm going to use a typical example of the earth. Now, imagine that you want to build a house here on the earth. What do you need to build that house? The very first thing you need is to buy a plot of land. Remember, the earth is a place where humans live. But for humans to live comfortably, they need to build houses. Now, that house, basically, for you to build that house, you need what? A plot of land where you would build that house on. The same thing applies to website files. For website files to live on the World Wide Web, they need what we call the web servers. Now, these web servers basically is the plot of land on the World Wide Web where website files are stored. I hope that point is clear. Now, remember that anything you see on a website, the text you see on a website, the image, all those logos, they are all files that are saved on the World Wide Web. So where are they saved on that World Wide Web? They are saved on the web server, or what we call the web hosting. So we have briefly explained to you two terminologies. One, the World Wide Web, and two, the what? The web server. We define a web server to be a place where website files are stored on where? On the World Wide Web. I hope I'm not confusing you in this lesson we're taking. I'm very, very sure that I'm taking my time to break it down in a way that you would understand these terminologies as we move forward. We've gotten 2. Now we have 2 to go. The very next one is what we call the domain name. Now, the domain name basically is the unique identifier of the files that are hosted or that are stored on your web server. Let me break it down. Imagine that someone is outside this planet. The person is another planet, let's say Neptune, and the person wants to locate your house in this earth. For example, the person wants to locate 152 Obafemi Awolowo Way, Ikeja. What would the person need to do? The person needs an address, which is what I've just mentioned. It is that address that they would now use to do what? Locate that my house address. The same way the domain name is a unique address that is used to identify files that are saved on the web server in the World Wide Web. I'm sure you're getting the connection between these things. The domain name is that unique identifier that is used to locate those files on the World Wide Web. Now, let me ask you a question. Is it possible for 2 houses to have one address? Do you think it's ever possible? Well, it is never ever possible. It is either one house will bear 1A or 1B. It's never possible for 2 houses to carry the same address. That is also the same way it is not possible for 2 websites to have one domain name. So that unique name you see that you type on your browser, www.vslconcept.com, for example, is the domain name. No doubt, you've been able to understand what a domain name is, you've been able to understand what the web hosting is, and also what the World Wide Web is. If I may ask you now, can you tell me what the domain name is, what the web hosting is, and what the World Wide Web is? If you can, go down there to the comment section below and let me know so I can be sure that you understood what I've just explained. All you have to do is say what? I understand this explanation clearly, and I would definitely reply your comment appreciating you for that comment. Now we have one more that is to go. In that definition, you would remember that we mentioned web pages. Yes. What are web pages? Web pages basically are pages that are designed on the web server that lives on the World Wide Web. Take, for example, the website you can see on your screen is V.S.L.concept.com. What makes this a website is the collection of web pages that we have on this website. Over here, you see we have the home page. You see we have our courses page. You also see we have the About Us page. You see we have the Contact Us page. So each and every one of these are pages that are actually stored on the web server. Now remember, each page has its own files that makes it very, very unique. Yes, those are the files that we talked about that are stored also on the World Wide Web. So simply put, a website is a collection of all of these web pages that are simply stored on a web server that is found on the World Wide Web. No doubt, if the explanation of what a website is was confusing to you when I mentioned it at the beginning, it should not be confusing to you now because I've taken my time to explain to you those terminologies that may be confusing to you. Now, there are so many other things you need to know or understand about a website. Things that makes a website work. I mentioned SSL security at the beginning. What is SSL security? We have other terminologies like the URL. What is that? We have domain extensions. What is that? I will break all of that down now so you have a better eye view of how this whole system works. Let us now start with defining what the term URL means. Have you heard of the term URL before? In fact, do you know what it means? That term means Uniform Resource Locator. Now, what is the Uniform Resource Locator, if you may ask? In fact, forget about the big grammar I've just spoken. Let me break it down for you to understand. Remember, we likened the World Wide Web to be another planet like the Earth. Now, imagine that you are actually in Neptune, another planet in the world, and you need to locate 152 Obafemi Awolowo Way, Ikeja, in Nigeria, which is in the earth. What do you need? You first of all need to do what? Ensure you take a rocket and land inside the earth. Yes. A plane cannot land from Neptune to the earth. You need a rocket. You land in the earth. Now, when you land in the earth, you now take a plane to wherever you landed. Maybe you landed in US. You take a plane from US to where? To Nigeria. Or let me say to West Africa. Now, from West Africa, you locate Nigeria. From Nigeria, you locate Lagos. And if, for example, you landed in Lagos and you live in Abuja, what would you do? You take flight again from Lagos to where? To Abuja. If you like, you can take flight or you use the road. Now, you would observe that that person who is in Neptune has a passageway that is used to do what? Access that address that we have on the earth. So the URL basically is the passageway that helps you access files on the World Wide Web. Remember we said the World Wide Web is a planet on its own where website files live. So just as you have the way to pass to access the address, the house that is on the earth, that's also the same way we have a passageway to access files that we have on the World Wide Web. That passageway is what we call the URL. Now, where can you find that passageway? You can find it through an application that we call the web browser. I'm very sure that you know what a web browser is. Yes, that browser that you use to visit the internet. You'll see a taskbar at the top. That bar at the top, you can see it on your screen. I'm highlighting it. That bar is what we call the URL. So if you want to visit or locate files that we have on a web server that is on the World Wide Web, what would you do? You put in the domain name address there. Once you put that domain name, it goes to the World Wide Web. Look for the web server, locate the file stored on that server, and brings up what you see on your screen as results. No doubt, even if you're someone who have never heard of the term website before, you now understand what the URL is and how to identify it. Are you enjoying this mind-blowing content I'm giving to you right here in this video? What more can you do to say thank you? If it is not to like this video and go to the comment section below and tell me thank you for giving clarity to these things that were not clear. Secondly, do you appreciate the illustrations I'm using to actually break down these things for you? Oh yeah, now go down there to the comment section and give me my accolades. And if you have not done so, please subscribe to this channel. Why? So this video can reach more persons, they can understand what website is, and those who are confused will get clarity. That should be your own little way to say thank you, that you appreciate this. Oh yeah, now hit the subscribe button, like this video, and most importantly, turn on post notifications so you can get amazing, wonderful updates like this from us on this YouTube channel. The very next terminologies we want to explain is what we call SSL security. Have you ever heard of the term SSL security before? Or let me say SSL. Have you heard of that term before? Well, most persons will say it is the security of the website. Yes, you may also feel that. But do you understand how the SSL works? What it does? Or how it protects files on the website? I will explain that in a short while. SSL security. What is it? Well, the term SSL is an acronym that means Secure Socket Layer. Secure Socket Layer. So this is basically what the term SSL means. Now let's now go into details. How does it work? How does it secure the files that we have on a website? I will explain in jiffy. As mentioned earlier, the secure socket layer is basically a layer of security that is attached to files that is transferred from the web browser to the World Wide Web. Let me explain so you can get it better. We first need to understand how files are transferred from the web browser to the web server before we can understand fully how the SSL works. Now imagine that you put your domain name on this URL you are seeing on your screen, www.vslconcept.com, and then you hit enter. Now you'd observe that the website just loads up and it shows you results. But what happens in between this process where you hit enter and where it shows you results. Let me explain. The moment you hit enter on your web browser, what happens is a request is sent straight up to the web server. That is where? On the World Wide Web. Now, the web server that carries that same name, the domain name, which is the unique identifier, is seen on the what? World Wide Web. The files that are stored on that World Wide Web, on that server, is now returned back to you on where? On the web browser. So simply put, as you put the domain name on the web browser, hit enter, it goes straight up to the web server, pick up those files, and return the files back to you. Now, this process is a process that requires a movement from position A to another movement to position B. Now, a movement from position B back to where? To position A. So it does not happen all in the same spots. We have two planets trying to communicate, the Earth and what? The World Wide Web. Now, during the process of this transfer of files from the web server to the web browser, it is possible that your information can be stolen by hackers. Now, let me briefly explain this to you so you'd understand clearly. Now, imagine that from where you are watching this video now, somebody hands you $10 million. $10 million. Or let's not go too big. Let's just say someone hands you $10,000 and the person says, I gift you this money. Take the money. And now imagine you're actually in your office and you want to take this money to the bank to cash this money. The office is position A and the bank is position B. How would you take that money to the bank, if I may ask? Will you put that $10,000 on your head and start moving on the road so people will see that you have $10,000? What will happen? Intruders might attack you and steal that money from you. So just as you would provide a measure of security to that money by either putting it in your bag or maybe putting it in your pocket, it is also the same way a layer of security is attached to files that are transferred from the web server to the web browser. So the layer of security attached to that files is what we call the secure socket layer. So as those files are moving from the web server to come to the web browser for you to see it on the screen, they are encrypted, they are secured. Hackers cannot hack in and get access to confidential information like your credit card details, like your login details, and so many other things. I believe I have done my best in explaining to you how the secure socket layer works on the web server and the web browser. If I try, clap for me now. Clap, 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 clap. If you understand it, just go to the comment section below and tell me you are doing well in your explanations. I'm very, very sure that you fully understand the secure socket layer. Now, the big question is this. Are all secure socket layers the same? If I'm designing a business website, the level of secure socket layer that I will install on my website, would that be the same that will be installed on a bank website? These are questions that we need answers to. But to help you understand this question, now imagine that the $10,000 that was given to you is now $10 billion. $10 billion. Now, you are in your office. You want to take this money to the bank to deposit that money. My dear, what would you do? How would you take that money there? Will you go and start buying boxes to put the money in? Because you know the cash is voluminous. Not at all. You might even need to start getting bullion vans. Call security companies, please, we need bullion vans here. We have a lot of cash to transport. What would they do? They come here, and in fact, if possible, you get policemen to even accompany the bullion vans to provide security for that money, because the information's there, or the money there is what? Something that should be highly protected. It is also the same way that the level of security you add to a website is dependent on the confidentiality of the information on that website. How important the files are that you want to do what? Protect on that website. So yes, we have different levels of SSL security. And what determines which you use, it depends on the level of something or what you want to protect on the website. With these few explanations, I'm very, very sure that you understand exactly what the domain name is. I'm sure you understand exactly what the web hosting is. I'm sure you understand what the WW is, the World Wide Web is. I'm sure you understand the URL. I'm sure you understand the SSL security in a layman's understanding. These are the things that makes up a website. In fact, they are required for you to design a website. One more thing we're going to cover before we go is what we call domain extensions. What are domain extensions? Domain extensions basically are the last part of your domain name. For example, V.S.L.concept.com. That .com is what we call the domain extension. We have .net, we have .com.ng, we have .uk, .co.uk. So anything that appears after that dot is what we call the domain extensions. Now, what are those extensions? Those extensions are basically categories of the website you intend to design on that server. For example, if I'm designing a commercial business, a website for a business that is into buying and selling of products and services, definitely we use what? .com. If I'm designing a website for an NGO, a non-governmental organization, for example, a religious website, we do what? Use .org. If I'm designing a website for a networking website or a networking company, we use .net. And how about if I'm designing a government-owned website? That's where you now see they use .gov. So there are so many domain names, and all of these interpret what kind of website you want to design. So it's important you understand what domain extension is very well before you go into designing a website. Now, what have we discussed in this video? We've been able to help you understand what a website is. We've been able to help you understand how a website, a domain name, web pages, SSL security, URL, the www all work together to help you see what is displayed on your screen as a website. Now, just as you would need to purchase a plot of land in order for you to actually build a house in Nigeria or in wherever city you are in, you also need to purchase your domain name, purchase your web hosting, and purchase your SSL security in order for you to do what? Design a website. Now, you might be wondering, where can you find domain names to buy? We have so many domain name resellers in the world today. You might also be wondering, what factors should you consider before deciding what domain name you should purchase? All of these things I have made in a video, telling you exactly the things you should look out for before you decide the company you should purchase your domain name from. All of these things I have in the video. Do you want me to upload that video? Come on. If you want me to, go down there to the comment section below and let me know that you want me to show you those basic requirements, those things that are required for someone to design a website. All of these things I'll reveal to you in that video. Now we wrap up this video. Go to the comment section below. Tell me, do you appreciate how I took my time to break down all of these things in a way that I'm sure you would understand? If you do, just say thank you for this in the comment section below. That is one. And two, do well to subscribe to this channel if you have not done so. Ensure you like this video. I'll see you in the next video that will be showing you exactly the factors to consider before choosing any company for domain name and hosting, and how you can get our recommended company. I'll see you in that next video.